into lands uncharted and dangers untold. I venture without fear and ride without rest. For coin or for cause, I fight to the end.
What the fuck happened?
Can I respawn this entry? No, the next entry, this entry?
I can't respawn at all. I've been kicked.
Awesome.
The creators of Apex Legends and Titanfall are not bringing you Titanfall 3, but are bringing you a brand new breed of shooter.
It's a little annoying. Am I just stuck in a loading loop? Hello?
Highguard is certainly a game of this year, and it's got a little bit of a doozy on its hands. If you go ahead and take a look at the Steam review page, you would notice that something is awry. Not just the intro of this video, but the Steam page alone would probably have you scratching your head thinking to yourself, Stark, why did you even download this thing in the first place? You're clearly just gonna dogpile on it like everybody else. Correct. When we saw the words from the creators of Titanfall and Apex Legends, we all collectively hit a big... We were thinking we were getting the hottest shit to drop. We were thinking we were getting something crazy, and then they showed us the trailer. It changed everything. But I want to be fair, I wanted to give this game a fair shake, and I wanted to get my raw opinions about how I felt about it. Now, I gotta be honest, all the best parts of this game are from other games, and I get they're from the makers of Titanfall and Apex. You know, we're already going to address that right out of the gate. The other things that all make the game sort of okay are also from other games, and the other games do them better, and I'll elaborate further to what I mean by that in just a few moments here. But to sum it up, if you don't really care that much, this game is just kind of a game. It is a game of games. That's quite literally. I can't elaborate on it further. It's a game of games. Like it's made up of other games. That's it. If this was a mode in Fortnite, this would be done. Like this could be a mode in Apex Legends. Like already, this could be a mode in Apex on its own, and it would work and function exactly the same. And I think that's kind of like the main issue people have with this game overall, is that it already exists. You can just kind of slap it together somewhere else. You know, it doesn't do anything particularly special. This game gets compared to Concord a lot, and before you freak out, I will absolutely explain and address the criticisms against this, but it's valid. It absolutely is valid that this game is being compared to Concord. So, to begin with, to address that, Concord came out in a market in which was oversaturated with hero shooters and was criticized for not being unique enough, not doing enough. It took from a lot of other popular games that already existed, i.e. Overwatch was the biggest draw, and then Marvel Rivals came out to compete with Overwatch, of course. It didn't do enough in its art style and its gameplay to stand out. As well as being a $40 product, sure as hell didn't help when you had other products that were free that were actually enjoyable in their gameplay mechanics and their loops. That's what's happening with this game right now, and it is absolutely valid because it's not doing anything original. The mount system from Paladins, the reinforcement stage from Rainbow Six Siege, the snappy-esque gunplay from Call of Duty, the rarity system from countless battle royales we've seen at this point with the attachments and the special abilities, the ranking system of those abilities, you could kind of point to Destiny and other games like that very vaguely. The Valorant character designs of the characters and the buy system similar to that, as well as the armor system from Apex, the movement system from Apex. All of these are kind of mishmashed into this, and these all do these same features better in other games, and that's the problem. And a lot of people see this, and they just kind of immediately deflect this like, oh, the people who are playing these games are the same people who are going to play Call of Duty, right? They're just going to go back and play Call of Duty and call this slop. And that is exactly right. The reason they're doing that is because Call of Duty does that one thing better, the snappy gunplay. That's it. It does that one thing better. That's all they need. Because Call of Duty's already entrenched itself. These guys aren't doing anything unique here, as well as the other complaints with performance and the inputs from mouse and keyboard that I'll get into the complaints of here. It doesn't do anything unique. 3 communities I've seen, want to really hammer this home. 3 communities that I've seen have done this exact same thing that have bled players, have been Battlefield 6, Skate EA, or Skate 4, and Call of Duty Black Ops 7. All of these communities saw the same effects of the criticisms not being applied to the game, or some update coming out ruining the game, almost every single time. And they saw this criticism coming in, they just said, oh, it's just hate. You guys just like playing slop garbage. That's your problem. You're just hating. The game, I'm having fun with it, therefore your criticism isn't valid. That doesn't at all handle what's going on. And then some people will go ahead and see some people being obviously fanatical and crazy and making comparisons and criticisms that don't logically make any sense. And they'll say, oh, because these small subject of people that are obviously able to tell that they're being ridiculous are saying these things, it must be everyone else who's making this criticism. I want to get that out of the gate. That's not even fucking close. I'm so tired of seeing article after article after article from the same writer who defended Concord is defending this game, and they're just saying that everyone's like just a freak who likes slop or whatever. I'm being exaggeratory in my language, but they're just saying that you just don't know what you're talking about. The game's actually good. I can't tell article from advertisement as a result. So let's just review the entirety of the game here, in depth from how a match plays. And you're probably asking, if you pulled up my Steam profile by now, why don't you have a lot of time played? It's because I can't. The game crashed so many times that you get penalized for being kicked out of a match. If you can't rejoin soon enough, you get penalized. If your game just crashes, whoopsie daisy, you're just fucked. So I'm stuck. I'm kind of stuck here. I get penalties, and that leads to temporary bans, and it's just ridiculous. It's nonsense. It's the same issue that I had with Call of Duty Black Ops 7's Warzone update when it came over the Warzone integration. My first ever game on, dropped 16 kills, and I was at Final Circle, and I got kicked from the game. I have the clip here. I'll put it up on screen. I was removed from the game given this notification. Player kicked from the game. I uninstalled that shit right away. That shit's a zero tolerance policy. Get that garbage out of here. If you're willing to hear me out with these games that come out and they have constant crashing on a launch, and they have these methods of punishing good players or people who are having a good time in that match, etc., keyboard and mouse, however you want to twist it, if you're willing to hear me out on that, I'd appreciate it. But if you're one of those people who just like, just get a better PC, dude, or just get better, or something along the lines, if you're just sweating too hard, you're not playing the game right, you can't really say that you're opening the discussion or you're open to feedback if you're just going to shut down everything that comes back with this blanket statement answer. I mean, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to criticize the product that I would like to play and get better? I would love to have plenty of products that come out and that are really good all the time, right? Unfortunately, the majority of my time is spent playing like Kovacs or something, or I started playing Army at 2. That's the shit. Every round begins with a reinforcement stage. There's nothing wrong with this on paper, but in practice, unfortunately for this game, it falls apart very quickly for me. I'll pick it apart here. Number one, my biggest gripe has to be the fact that you cannot leave your spawn area or the area you're meant to protect unless the timer runs out. So the game actively corrals you from stage to stage, and there's not really anything you can do about it. Everyone gets 5 walls to start with to choose to reinforce, and then once any attack actually kicks off, those bitches come down right away, making that reinforcement ultimately useless. Now, the only thing that separates the two is that it takes maybe 3 seconds to destroy a reinforced wall, whereas the non-reinforced walls, some dude could be swinging his dick around, no pants style, the tip accidentally scratches the front of the wall, and it disintegrates that wall and everything around it. Now, I'll get more into that when we get into the later phases here, but then we're just kind of waiting until the raid phase starts. in which you go out, you know, battle royale style, which kind of gave everyone the impression this game was going to be a battle royale at launch. However, the trailer that I showed you at the beginning had me thinking that this game had gone through quite a few changes and was always meant to be like a PvP shooter. I just don't think the time to kill was meant to be padded out that long, considering we saw 4 people in the trailer in the beginning there, and might I recall that this game is 3v3 at launch, so where the fuck did those 4 people come from? And why are they so close together, number one, in this area that is obviously very open, in a setting that doesn't really make any sense? You know, I could get into that, but that's just a minor gripe. No gear or anything, unlike when you get your ass out there and you find all kinds of different tiered gear, specifically the tier of whatever the highest is for that set of phases. After you go through a set of phases where a failure happens or a successful raid happens, everyone gets reset to start the looting phase again, in which everyone's tier of gear goes up by 1. So it kind of defeats the purpose of the tiered gear if everyone's on the same playing field, except for if you maybe have a gun that does 1 less damage, then you start to slowly pad out the time to kill. And then it makes it way harder to, of course, deal with multiple people at a time. So it just kind of makes the gear that you get from the looting phase kind of pointless, because you can just also buy the guns that you specifically want if there was a gun that does better. Some of the guns are pretty much useless in the earlier stages due to their accuracy stat and for some reason just not doing enough at that point in time. Now the guns change a little bit as a result, but ultimately I feel like they can all be viable and competitive if you just give them the base set of bonuses and balance them out as they are and remove the tiered system. I don't think much would change. I think it would improve the amount of viability off of RIP, and of course improve the overall speed of a match, because the game clearly wasn't designed to have this higher time to kill with a shield system and everything. You also lose your shields if you die if you don't carry extras. So good luck to your gear, you know, that'll pad out the time to kill for sure. It makes it way harder for you to rely on only your sole abilities, and you have to rely on your teammates, slowing down the process. So then you actually get into a full-fledged fight if you didn't manage to already, which is very, very hard to do in the early raids, in the early looting stages. So then you get to fight over the shield breaker, and that speeds up the process a little bit of getting into an engagement. Only problem is, if all 3 of you die, the other dude decides he doesn't want to push to your side and bring the fight to you to break open your shield, he is then going to sit there and wait for the timer to run out, and he's slightly closer to your shield than he is to his. So the raid, after like 6 minutes of him defending a really crazy to defend points, it goes up, finishes, and goes, we're actually going to automatically start a raid and teleport everyone over there because the map is too big to traverse. And I think that's a big problem if you then have to teleport people and there's not enough people to defend, so you're pretty much required to teleport to back up your buddies, because there's only 3 of you on this big ass map. It's not like there's 6 or there's 5 or there's 4. You know, there's only 3 of you. And I know 1 extra person of 4 doesn't really make that much of a difference, but it does change enough to the point where you're like, okay, there's 2 over there, we can keep 2 over here, right? No, there's always an odd man out here. And that's my biggest problem, especially getting to the raid phase. Now, the raid phase is pretty much just like popping shit off all the time when shit actually starts, because a lot of the areas that you're defending have a lot of choke points, and you just have gunfire and abilities popping off, ults popping, everything's just going sideways super quick, which I think this game does one thing very unique. I think it allows you to go ahead and whoever still has the shield breaker to crack open an extra portion if you held onto it early, and instead of just popping it early and you held onto it to a certain point during the raid, you can then flank and snake around and plant a bomb and make it much easier to go ahead and take care of your enemies and split them up. You know, they're all over. They're like, how the fuck did they get past us, right? I thought I was looking down the only part they were coming through. Spoiler dog, you open a back door there and you're planting a bomb now. That's kind of the only thing that makes it unique, because everything is kind of samey from other games. And then it just devolves into this. Your fucking walls are getting destroyed. Everyone's shooting from everywhere all the time. Abilities are just plowing through shit. You don't know what the fuck's going on at that point. You're just praying to God while you're sitting there on that point, defusing that bomb, that your head doesn't get blown off by a 408 pace round. And I saw a lot of comparisons to Rainbow Six Siege in, of course, the setting up initial phase, you know, where you're reinforcing walls and everything. The only problem is that it immediately falls apart because Rainbow Six Siege does this thing much better because the reinforcements, while all the other walls are made of paper mache and you can shoot through without issue, comes down to the pacing of the game. So the reason that this part of the reinforcement works for Siege, where it does not work very well for these guys over here at Highguard, is because the game isn't fucking balls to the walls. It's patient. You can pick up the pace very quickly, only with certain operators, and you can get punished as a result very quickly due to the fast time to kill. This does not work very well when everything is high time to kill, and then you have fucking abilities and shit popping off, and there's a giant fucking Iceman plowing through the walls, and he's defending the bomb, and now you can't defuse it unless all three of your teammates together decide to use the power of friendship to take his fat ass down. One of the many examples of what I was saying earlier, where the game has this one aspect of another game, and the other game does that one aspect better, so you might as well go play that other game. There's plenty of examples that I could totally get into, but this video is running on pretty long anyway, and I think I got most of my points across. A lot of the items and the aspects of this game are kind of like pointless. Sitting in your bubble waiting to go out to start the loot phase is ridiculous. If I go ahead and start a match for the first time, I was bewildered when I was seeing this. I was seeing my teammates run straight to the front. I didn't even realize they were done reinforcing already, and I was sitting there trying to choose. I was like, And I see two teammates ready to start the looting phase, and they're sitting up against the wall for 30 seconds. And I'm just like, there's no way that's going to be me. The next match, once I already figured out the game, that was me. I was sitting there waiting to go fucking loot. It was taking too much time. And I totally understand why people get bored of this game. It takes too long to get engaged with anything, and how the phases are tiered does not at all complement the actual phases themselves. I think it takes too long for them. I think the timers should be shortened down. I think all the timers across the board should be shortened down to speed up the game flow. And as well as, of course, the 5v5 addresses the issue with player engagement during the looting phase. I think the game should have launched with 3v3, and that initial player count of 100k, maybe more people would have stuck around. Now, I can't speak for the performance issues because there were plenty of people who could not get into the game to begin with. And it's a free-to-play game, so obviously everyone's going to give it a shot. You could argue that, sure. And I think a good amount of people gave it a fair shot. And they were like, you know what? I'll be honest. It might not be for me, but I'll be honest. I'll go ahead and I'll go try it. I'll see if they're walking the walk here. And unfortunately, for 90% of the player base, they were like, this ain't it. This ain't it. Performance issues out the gate. All the things I've discussed out the gate. It's just not good. They're not enjoying themselves. And then you have these people who get super defensive of it. They're like, well, I'm having fun. Yeah, I personally had fun too, in some cases, but I'm not going back to after work to hop on Highguard, you know what I'm saying? That's not what I'm doing. I'm gonna go do anything else. I'm gonna go play Skate, and Skate's not even a good spot. It's just a chill game to hop on, or I'm gonna go play Kovacs or something, It's just not drawing me in enough. There's other games I've already played, seen it, done it, and I get it. There's only so many ideas that can go around, but usually when you cram all these ideas together, you gotta make them work. It's like some people got together and they got high, and they're like, what if we, at the beginning of a round, before we let them loot, we add reinforcements like Siege. You guys remember playing Siege? And then with the looting, what if we added crystals that you could use as the currency to buy stuff rather than getting money after each round, like in Rust? And then we get the chests and open them. They open up the same way, Apex style. You guys remember when we worked on Apex? Remember when the janitor saw the developers working on Apex? Hey janitor, come over here. Does this animation for the chest opening look like Apex crates to you? I mean, being exaggeratory, and I am not trying to put someone down here, but that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting out of this game. And I feel like I'm not alone. I appreciate you watching all the way through. If you have a difference in opinion, please let me know. If you agree, or if you'd like to see the game perform differently with different aspects that you have a personal input on, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see the discussion. I want this game to be good. I really do. Unfortunately, however, it's not being handled well, and I think it really comes down to management, and there's been too many eyes put on this game. Jeff Keighley, what the fuck were you thinking?
Anyway, subscribe to stick around, like if you like it, dislike it, dislike it. I'll be seeing you later. Take it easy.